The Cleveland Browns coaching staff is in full panic mode right now, and it's all because of a video that was never supposed to see the light of day. At 11:47 p.m. last Tuesday, a team assistant forgot his keys and had to return to the Browns facility. What he captured through that rain-streaked window has the entire organization scrambling behind closed doors. I'm about to show you the leaked footage that's making NFL veterans furious, coaches question everything they thought they knew, and why a fifth-round rookie named Shedeur Sanders is about to flip the entire league upside down. I've been covering the Browns for years, and I've never seen anything like what's happening right now in Cleveland. This isn't just another training camp story. This is a complete power shift that nobody saw coming. But before we dive into this exclusive footage, you need to understand why what Shedeur did at midnight is making million-dollar quarterbacks lose sleep and why the Browns are desperately trying to keep this quiet. Because what you're about to see will change everything you think you know about who's really running that offense. The hype train isn't rolling into Cleveland quietly. It's roaring through the front gates, kicking up decades of dust and doubt. And at the center of it is Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round draft pick with a last name that turns heads and a work ethic that shuts mouths. This isn't one of those quaint off-season fairy tales where a rookie gets hot for a few practices, the crowd claps, and reality gently sets back in. No, this is the storm. This is the disruption. This is a seismic cultural shift wrapped in shoulder pads and cleats. But here's what most people don't understand about that viral video, the one showing Shedeur grinding alone in the rain. You've probably seen it by now. Soaked grass, soaked gloves, a quarterback obsessed with mastery. But what you didn't see was the context that makes this moment absolutely revolutionary. Picture this. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night in Cleveland. The temperature has dropped to 43 degrees, and the rain isn't the gentle kind that makes for romantic movie scenes. This is Ohio rain, cold, relentless, the kind that cuts through your jacket and makes you question every life choice that brought you outside. The practice facility is locked. The lights are off. Even the security guard has retreated to his warm booth with a cup of coffee and a crossword puzzle. And there's Shedeur Sanders, alone on the field, running footwork drills like his life depends on it. This wasn't some orchestrated PR stunt with perfect lighting and a camera crew waiting for the money shot. No flashy trainers barking motivational quotes. No custom equipment gleaming under stadium lights. Just a young man, a football, and an obsession with perfection that most people will never understand. The video only exists because a team assistant forgot his keys and had to come back to the facility. What he saw through the rain-streaked window stopped him cold. Here's a quarterback, a fifth-round pick, mind you, practicing three-step drops with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. Every plant foot landing exactly where it should. Every pivot generating maximum torque. Every throw hitting an imaginary receiver in stride, even though there's nobody there to catch it. The assistant pulled out his phone not because he thought it would go viral, but because he couldn't believe what he was witnessing. In a league obsessed with optics and social media moments, this clip wasn't staged. It was stolen, captured, leaked. And when it hit the internet, it didn't just trend because of its aesthetic appeal. It trended because of what it represented, a level of dedication that makes other players uncomfortable. Because when your quarterback is grinding in the rain at midnight, how dare you roll into the facility the next morning complaining about two-a-days? The rawness of it shook people because it didn't feel like hype. It felt like hunger. The kind of hunger that separates the pretenders from the contenders, the good from the great, the drafted from the legendary. But viral videos don't win you starting jobs. Stats do. And what Shedeur is doing in actual practice. That's where this story gets absolutely wild. It's easy to get swept up in the romance of a rookie quarterback grinding in solitude, but if all that rain-soaked hustle doesn't translate into results on the field, it's just wet theatrics. Yet here's the part that the doubters can't explain away, the part that's making coaches lose sleep and veterans take notice. Shedeur Sanders isn't just working hard. He's systematically outplaying every quarterback on the Browns roster with frightening consistency. Let me paint you a picture with numbers that don't lie. 75% completion rate in camp. Stop right there. Let that sink in for a moment. That's not just good, that's elite territory, especially for a rookie adjusting to NFL speed, NFL complexity, NFL defenders who've been doing this for a living since before he could legally vote. We're not talking about 7-on-7 drills against practice squad players. These are live reps with second and third string receivers going up against professional defenders who are fighting for their own roster spots. Guys who would love nothing more than to pick off the rookie and make a highlight reel of their own. But here's where it gets really interesting. In red zone drills, where windows shrink to the size of dinner plates and pressure mounts like a hydraulic press, Sanders has been surgical. No wasted motions, no panic in his eyes, just quick reads and frozen ropes that thread needles most veterans wouldn't even attempt. Watch him in the pocket during these drills, and you'll see something that typically takes quarterbacks years to develop: anticipation. He's not just reacting to what he sees. He's predicting what's about to happen. He's hitting receivers before they even make their breaks, throwing them open with the kind of timing that makes defensive coordinators want to throw their playbooks across the room. When a safety creeps into the box, Shedeur's already checking into a play-action concept that exploits the vacated deep middle. When a linebacker shows blitz, he's sliding protection and finding the hot route before the rusher even takes his first step. And here's the kicker, he's already calling audibles at the line of scrimmage. Let me repeat that because it's important. A fifth-round rookie is calling audibles. That's something that typically takes young quarterbacks months to earn the right to do, let alone master. It requires not just understanding your own offense, but reading defensive alignments, recognizing leverage, understanding down and distance, and having the confidence to change the play in front of 22 professional athletes who are all older and more experienced than you. Even more impressive is who he's doing it with. He hasn't been given the luxury of first-team chemistry, no hand-picked reps with the top receivers who know exactly how to adjust their routes based on coverage. He's working with the leftovers, undrafted free agents, practice squad call-ups, guys fighting just to make the team, and still carving up the defense like a master chef with a dull knife. But statistics only tell part of the story. The real revolution is happening in a place where numbers can't measure it. If you want to know who the real leader of a football team is, don't ask the general manager. Don't even ask the coach. Watch the locker room. Listen to it. Feel the energy that forms around the guy the team believes in. There's a rhythm to championship locker rooms, an invisible current that flows toward the player everyone trusts when the lights get bright and the stakes get high. And right now, inside the Cleveland Browns facility, that current is flowing directly toward Shedeur Sanders. This isn't some manufactured leadership where a rookie walks in barking orders and demanding respect he hasn't earned. That's Hollywood nonsense. Real leadership in the NFL is earned through 1,000 small moments, and Shedeur is collecting those moments like a master craftsman collecting tools. He's not walking around with his chest puffed out, trying to be the loudest voice in the room. That's not his style, and frankly, it wouldn't work anyway. Veterans can smell fake leadership from 3 zip codes away. Instead, he's earning it the old school way, by making everyone around him better. Offensive linemen respect him because he doesn't just know their names, he studies their tendencies, understands their strengths and weaknesses, and calls out protections that make their lives easier. When a defensive end is getting a good jump on the snap count, Shedeur adjusts his cadence. When a linebacker is showing a blitz but might be faking, he alerts the center to be ready for a late A-gap rush. These aren't flashy moments that make SportsCenter, but they're the building blocks of trust. Receivers are fighting for reps with him because they know the ball is coming out on time and in the right place. There's nothing more frustrating for a receiver than running perfect routes only to have the quarterback hold the ball too long or throw it behind you. With Shedeur, they know that if they win their route, they're getting fed. If they're supposed to sit in a zone, the ball will be there waiting for them. If they need to adjust their route based on leverage, he's already seen it and thrown accordingly. Running backs feel the spacing open up when he reads a safety creeping into the box and checks into a play-action concept that moves the chains. Tight ends know he'll find them on crossing routes when the coverage breaks down. Even the defense respects him because he's not trying to embarrass them in practice. He's trying to make them better by giving them legitimate looks they'll see on Sundays. But here's the most telling sign of all, the silence after mistakes. When Shedeur throws an interception in practice, which, let's be honest, happens to every quarterback, the team doesn't flinch. No groans, no body language sag, no sideways glances. Why? Because they know he'll get it back on the next drive. That kind of faith is rare in professional sports, and once it shows up, you can't fake it, you can't buy it, and you can't coach it. Meanwhile, upstairs, the front office is dancing around a depth chart crisis that's about to explode. If Shedeur Sanders had any other last name, the narrative would already be rewritten. ESPN would be running inspirational montages set to emotional music. Analysts would be tossing around words like prodigy and next up. SportsCenter would be cueing his throws under soft lighting for the board for this segment. Draft experts would be calling it the steal of the century, and talking heads would be debating whether Cleveland found their franchise quarterback in the 5th round. But because his father is Deion Coach Prime Sanders, the loud, brash, unapologetically confident icon who's never been afraid to speak truth to power, the coverage changes. The tone shifts. The goalposts move constantly, and the standards become impossibly high. Let's call it what it is. Shedeur has been under a microscope since the day he put on pads, not because of what he's done, but because of who raised him. To the media, Shedeur can't just be a quarterback. He has to be a statement. If he's great, it must be because he had every advantage: private trainers, elite coaching, connections that open doors. If he struggles, it must be because he's entitled, soft, unprepared for the real world of professional football. Never mind the hours. Never mind the blood, sweat, and tears. Never mind that Shedeur has been training like an NFL starter since before he could legally drive. All that gets erased by the shadow of his father's fame. Here's what's ironic. The very thing being used to discredit him, his father's legacy, is the same thing that prepared him better than any quarterback in his draft class. You think being Deion's son made it easier? Ask anyone who's played under that kind of pressure. When your dad is the most famous name in the room, you don't get to make mistakes in silence. Every interception gets replayed 10 times. Every decision is dissected by people who've never taken a snap. Every quote is twisted, every gesture is analyzed, every moment is magnified. This is a kid who's been running 2-minute drills since he was 10 years old, watching film with NFL Hall of Famers during middle school, getting coached by legends in his own kitchen. He's been preparing for this moment his entire life, not because it was handed to him, but because he was held to a standard that would have broken most people. And yet somehow, the narrative is still that he needs more time, might be a distraction, or isn't ready for the pressure. But that's not analysis. That's bias wrapped in polished language and pushed through a machine that gets uncomfortable when black quarterbacks rise too fast, speak too confidently, or come from families that refuse to know their place. What makes Shedeur so dangerous to this system is that he doesn't apologize for any of it. He doesn't downplay his preparation. He doesn't shrink from the microscope. He meets it head-on, out-prepares everyone in the room, and lets the tape speak louder than the takes. But while the media keeps spinning, something else is happening inside the Browns facility that they can't control. If you want to understand just how surreal this Cleveland quarterback situation has become, pull up the depth chart and try to make sense of it. At the top, you've got Deshaun Watson, a former franchise savior turned question mark with a mountain of off-field baggage, an injured shoulder that may never be the same, and a contract so massive it makes him virtually untradeable. The Browns are essentially married to him whether they like it or not, trapped in a relationship that's costing them $230 million and their credibility. Behind him, you've got Kenny Pickett, the cast-off from Pittsburgh who looks more like a guy trying to prove he belongs in the league than someone you can build a franchise around. His arm strength is questionable, his decision-making is inconsistent, and his leadership presence is about as commanding as a substitute teacher trying to control a classroom full of seniors on the last day of school. Then there's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a hometown hero with decent tools but the kind of inconsistency that keeps offensive coordinators awake at night, wondering if this is the week he puts it all together or the week he throws 3 picks in the first quarter. He's got heart, he's got mobility, but he doesn't have the processing speed or accuracy to be more than a backup in this league. Joe Flacco? He's a walking memory at this point, more an insurance policy than future, a veteran presence who can manage a game if everyone around him is perfect but can't elevate anyone or anything when the pressure mounts. Now enter Shedeur Sanders, the rookie drafted in the 5th round, the kid everyone said was just a media product, the one who wasn't supposed to climb this fast or command this much attention. And yet here he is, already running red zone drills with the poise of a 10-year veteran, already calling audibles with the confidence of someone who's been reading NFL defenses his entire life, already commanding the huddle with a presence that makes the rest of the room look like passengers on a train they're not qualified to drive. This isn't the story of a prospect patiently waiting for his shot. This is a quarterback stealing it in real time, taking it from players who thought it was theirs by default. Watch a team scrimmage and you'll see the difference immediately. When Pickett's under center, there's tension, receivers running tentative routes, linemen unsure of protection calls, running backs hesitating because they're not sure if the ball is coming out on time. When Thompson-Robinson's in, there's hesitation, players looking around, wondering if this is the rep where everything breaks down. But when Shedeur lines up, there's rhythm. There's confidence. There's order. It's not just about stats or highlight throws. It's about control, command, the intangible quality that makes 21 other players believe that everything is going to be okay as long as he's back there. You feel it in the huddle. You see it in the body language of his teammates. When he talks, they listen. When he leads, they follow. And that's the danger for everyone else in that room.